Welcome, everybody, to Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. This is Don. Hey, today I've got Robin Johnson. How you doing, Robin?
I'm fantastic. It's Wednesday. Is it Wednesday? I don't even
It
know what
is.
day.
It's hump day.
I don't know. And you invited me to podcast that said drunk in it. So I've already started. I brought
Hey,
this.
I got the maker's mark. So,
I, I've got my Jack Daniel's Sinatra. This is something I had never tasted before. I went up to their distillery a couple months ago and they were like, "Have you tried the Sinatra?" And I was like, "No." And I tried it and now I'm hooked. And then I go to the liquor store. Of course, it's a little more expensive than I normally pay for things. I'm
yeah,
like, shoot, it got me on to something that is like, it's like getting addicted to Chanel perfume.
yeah,
And you can't go back because it's so good.
yep, yeah. I agree. I just bought a barrel, so I can try to make my own bourbon.
Really?
So,
Of what? What'd you get a barrel of?
well, I haven't bought it. There's no liquor in it. I got a buddy that's making me the liquor, and I'm gonna actually make my own bourbon. So,
That's awesome. My husband and I are huge bourbon fans. We have a bourbon bar. We have a big sign that says the Johnson Bourbon Bar or Johnson Bourbon Tasting Room. Yeah, we have a coffee table out of a bourbon barrel. Our
yeah,
bar is out of two bourbon barrels. Yeah.
that's
I'm right
awesome.
here.
That's
Yeah, and
great.
I am recording this in my closet just because our gun safe is right here. So I was trying to like be in the
There
I was
you
like, I
go.
need to do this in the bar or in the closet by the gun safe. So I picked the gun safe just because I have two kids and they don't really respect that I'm recording. So
I got you. I got a whole nother room full of ammo and all sorts of other stuff. So yeah, I get it. I got stuff all over the place. And when we started the show, we was actually in a gun room. So my
oh,
buddy used to be, he owns a gun business. And so that's where we filmed at, was in his gun room, you
that's
know.
cool.
So that's where the name came. It just
Where
stuck.
are you again?
Rolla, Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
All right. How
Yep.
far is that from Kansas City, Missouri?
About 250, 260.
That's a hike. Okay.
Yeah, we're closer to Branson, more southern.
Okay. Yeah. That's definitely like gun and bourbon country right there. It's
Oh yeah, yeah.
some
I,
beer,
I mean,
gun, bourbon.
I work in the middle of the Mark Twain forest, so when I get off at 3 o'clock, I literally grab my gun and walk across the street and go hunting. So yeah, I
Awesome.
love it.
I'll have to tell my husband he's a hunter.
Yeah.
I just hunt for sales. I'm just up in Kohl's with my Kohl's cash. I'm not trying to find any game or anything.
Well, see, we're kind of there. I'm trying to save money on food.
The same. I feel like hunting for a bargain or hunting for a deer is kind of the same. You gotta
Yep,
like, you gotta get there early before everybody else. You
yep.
have to you have to like pee on things so nobody else. Mark,
You're not far off. So let's talk about your Army career. You said 20-year, 22-year Army.
well, it's like 26 total. I was in the Ohio National Guard enlisted, and then I went to ROTC at Ohio State University, the Ohio State University, and then I commissioned. So I went to the dark side, became an officer. So 26 years total, five deployments to Afghanistan and Iraq. So yeah, a whole thing, a whole life,
Yeah.
really.
So you're originally from Ohio?
I was actually born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I only lived there for less than a year. And then I was raised in Ohio and I left Ohio at 17. I joined the Army, National Guard, and came back to Ohio after, the initial entry training to go to college. Went to college under the Ohio GI Bill, whatever.
Hmm.
And I decided I really didn't like the Guard. Um, Mostly because I got busted from E4 to E3, but that's a whole nother story. That's for another time. Um, and I was like, I don't like people telling me what to do. I want to be the person that tells people what to do. So I went into ROTC and I didn't think I could even become an officer because I had gotten an Article 15. So I was
Hmm.
like, well, and I was honest. I told them I had gotten in trouble, and they're like, don't worry about it. Like every good officer has gotten an Article 15 and been enlisted. It's fine. So then I became an officer, did that for 21 and some odd change years, and then
Yeah.
retired in April 1st, April Fool's Day of 2020.
Wow.
Because it's April 1st. And I picked that date because I was like, ooh, I feel like that's the perfect date for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you this. We got a lot in common. You guns, bourbon, and I'm a Bengals fan. I've been I
Cincinnati!
my best day of my life was I went to Kansas City in 1986, and I got to talk with Ken Anderson, my idol, and that was Boomer Esiason's rookie year.
Boomer,
So,
yes, Boomer was my idol.
yep,
Yeah, I'm
I
jealous.
had I had a pair of football pants on, and on those pants I had Anthony Munoz's autograph, um, Ken Anderson, Boomer. The only person I didn't get, and I flip him off every time he's on TV, is Chris Collinsworth, because I was always a wide receiver. So when I played football, so I was number 80 all the time. And he came out and my eyes lit up, and I asked him for his autograph, and he said, "Let me put my stuff on the bus, and I'll come back and give you an autograph." And he went on in the bus, sat down in the chair, and just looked at me. So
Ooh,
I
I
let
don't
him
know.
know
You know what
he's
I
number
mean?
one.
Like, don't be like that. Don't get too big for your britches.
Yep. You hear that, Chris? If you're watching,
Yeah, Chris. Chris, we got bourbon, ammo, and guns. You better watch yourself.
yep, you're gonna wish you signed that damn pair of pants.
Whatever happened to him anyway? Washed up football player, probably.
Yeah, and he's a hater too. Every time he announces a Bengals game, man, he just talks trash about him. I don't
Yeah, I don't
understand
like
him.
people like that. No, you know
Yeah,
what? Maybe it was a reason you didn't get his autograph because you don't need that negativity in your life.
that's right.
You know.
So, what was your MOS when you were in?
So I started out as a 92 Yankee, unit supply specialist in the guard, because I didn't know anything. I didn't care. I just wanted the sign-on bonus. They're like, if you're a 92 Yankee, you get $5,000 bonus. I was like, sign me up, right?
Yeah.
Because I had a Camaro in my eyesight. I bought an 86 maroon Camaro with that $5,000. I was fancy. And so I did that. And then when I commissioned, it just seemed logical to become a quartermaster
Yeah.
because I was already quartermaster branch. I felt like I understood it. I felt like I was part of the quartermaster,
Yeah.
you know, organization. Uh, I was hoping to be a rigger and go to the, 82nd Airborne, but it didn't work out that way. But it was still fun.
Yeah.
It was
I
a
don't
good, it
think I
was a,
could do the whole rigging. I did 10 years in the 160th. So yeah,
ugh.
I met a lot of riggers, and that's a hard job. I don't think I could do it. A
I
lot of
know. I can't say I
responsibility.
could do it either. It's I feel like I just wanted the like prestige of it. I just wanted to say I was a rigger. I don't know. When I was an AIT for a 92 Yankee, the riggers had their sexy maroon berets,
Yep.
kind of like swaggered, and they just seemed cooler than all of us nerdy kids in the 92 Yankee course. So for some reason, I don't know.
I always looked at them as like puppets, masters, because they got literally have guys' lives in their hands.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah.
I
So
have two kids now. I don't even want that responsibility.
yeah, me neither. Especially now that I'm retired, yeah, I don't need it. So um you were in through 9/11. So I know you deployed, so where all did you have to endure?
Yeah, I did Afghanistan in 2002, so like pretty much right at the beginning when it was austere and
I
really
did
nothing.
too. I was in
Did the
Kandahar in 2002.
Yeah, I was in Bagram.
I went to Bagram later.
I do this like, oh, spirit fingers. Yeah, yeah, I was in Bagram. I did some outposts and remote outposts from Bagram. Bagram was my main
Yeah.
base, but we did some stuff other places. And then I went to Iraq in 2003, so I wasn't home long. I was only home like 3.5 months,
Yep.
and I had to turn and burn and go back. And so did the invasion with the 101st, well, 101st. And then in '05 deployed again with 3ID, and then deployed with 3ID in '07 for the surge, and then deployed with the 101st again in 2016 as a battalion commander. So it was
So
weird. I will tell you, it's really weird to start on this longest war we've ever had
yeah.
as a lieutenant and then fast forward and command a battalion in the same war, but like so much of the conditions have changed.
Oh
And
yeah.
And also like who were foe and who were friends
Nope.
and the dynamics and the rules and just it was very fascinating from
Yeah.
just a from my foxhole. I was like, wow.
Oh yeah. And just like you said, man, times change so fast that by the time units would get back and back brief so NTC could change the way they were training for the next rotations
Yep.
going forward, they were already past that. It had already
Yeah.
changed, you
Well,
know?
we don't move fast enough. The,
Yeah.
we don't, I'm trying to adjust my bar stool here. We don't move fast enough. We don't apply the lessons learned.
Yeah.
I mean, we move like pond water. I mean,
Yep.
really. I say
Yeah.
we, I mean like DOD, but
Yeah. So
yeah,
so
we
you
can
were
be
at
fast.
Fort Stupid, huh?
Stewart,
Oh yeah, yes, Fort Stewart.
I was at Hunter Army Airfield because I was in the 3rd Combat Aviation Brigade. So,
We were at Hunter at the same time. I
oh,
was
really?
I was in
Yeah,
the
because you were
160th
160th. Yeah, I was
from
there 04 to 08.
okay, I was there
I
from
wasn't really there.
2000, huh?
I wasn't really there because I was deployed
Me
05.
too.
I mean, I was deployed like 3 of the 4 years.
Yep. I did a total of 68 months. And we were in a lot of people didn't know this, but we were in five different theaters at the same time, and we were only one battalion. We had 300 and like 50 people, 340 people in the unit. So I mean, we were in Iraq, Afghanistan, the United States, Colombia, and the Philippines. So I mean, we were thin. They called in the Iowa National Guard, and they ended up coming over and taking over our unit because we didn't have anybody left. You know, so yeah, I
Well,
completely get it.
company, but one of the 160th companies was in the same building as my company headquarters, and they were so nice. And I love them because they were super fit, of course, because they're 160th.
Yeah,
And it pushed all my soldiers to like be extra fit because all the females would like stare at the 160th soldiers. So all
yeah,
my males had to like step it up.
yep. I I I would not change the thing. I absolutely loved it. You know, those 10 years of my career, I cherish. I absolutely loved it. And then when I went back, I ended up retiring from Fort Stewart. So I left the 160th, and it was because of politics. They had to open it up, and it was no longer volunteer. They wanted Big Army to start filling the new battalion in Washington. And of course, they said, sure, we will. Once you unseal everybody's records so we can see who you're over strength on. Because, the Department of Army couldn't even see what we had. So it
Wow.
was, everybody loved the 160th so much. They literally would say, like, if I get promoted, do I have to leave because there's no slots? And if that answer was yes, people would literally stop turning in points because
Yeah.
they want to get promoted to have to leave.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. I mean, and the
It's,
budget was awesome.
I feel like the 160th and Special Forces doesn't do the stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like
They
the
don't.
regular army, we do some stupid stuff. We're like formations at 0615. And by the time you back it up 17 million times, it's at like 3:30. You've got
Yep.
soldiers there because leaders can't manage. It's
We
we do
did
some
uh we did three formations a week. So we had Monday formation, Wednesday formation, and Friday formation. The rest was PT on your own. And on Friday, PT was down on River Street or at Forsyth Park or out
yeah.
at Tybee.
That.
So yeah, it was awesome. And everybody's first name basis. So,
Yeah.
I when I got ready to leave and they said, hey, you've been here 10 years, and they took whoever been there the shortest is the ones that got to stay. And they said, hey, there's a motor pool position because I was a mechanic. There was a motor pool position open to be the motor sergeant at the Ranger Battalion. And I only had one question at that point, do I have to go to Ranger school? They said, yeah. I said, man, I'm 39 years old. I ain't going to Ranger school. So I
I
ended
was,
up leaving. I went overseas, which is all I requested for. They let us pick our assignment. So I went to Qatar for 15 months, and then I came back and retired out of Stewart. So
yeah. I feel you on the Ranger School. They opened it up to women when I was a major after having two kids. I said, you ought to be crazy.
Yeah.
I've had two C-sections. Hell, like you should have asked me that like 20 years ago. I went to Airborne Air Assault Pathfinder School, no problem, when I was young and had kids.
Yep.
But now you're asking me at like 38 after I've had two children, you know what?
Yep.
Stop. Like, no, thank you. I've
Yeah.
created two human beings. I'm good. Like, I should get a tab, like mom. You know?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the way I was. I was like, these 19-year-old kids, man, they're coming out running.
Yeah. Did you
That's
just
not,
see the two folks who won best ranger competition?
I didn't.
Or yeah, I don't know their names, but I was like, you know what? They're so young.
Oh, yeah.
They just look young. Like
Yep.
I could be their mom.
We always had a big rivalry between us and the Rangers because on Tuesdays we did pool PT down there at the aquatic center. I don't remember what street it was on, off of Eisenhower, I think, somewhere. But
Yep, it's Eisenhower. I remember because I got injured one time. I had to do like aqua therapy or pool therapy, and I was like, I mean, no offense to the Rangers, but those little shorts. I, my husband would be like, were you at Aqua PT today? Because you seem awful happy.
so all we did is played water polo. And man, the story is true, man. We'd start playing and it'd be like 5-on-5, and we'd start winning. Next thing you know, it's 5-on-6, 5-on-7, 5-on-8. And it's like they started breeding, man. I don't know where they were
They're
coming
like
from.
rabbits. They're
Yeah,
just,
absolutely. So where'd you end up retiring out of?
out of the Pentagon. I
Oh,
worked in the
okay.
Soldier for Life office. I was the employment director, so working on um, just the transition out of active duty and finding employment. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina. My husband's mom was not well. She was diagnosed with cancer, so I moved down to take care of her, and that's where I am now. So I'm in
Okay.
Charleston.
There's an awesome organization in your town called She's the Veteran.
Yes, Brooke is a good friend of mine.
Yeah, she was
Love
stationed.
her.
She was stationed with me in Third ID.
She's good people. Like, she's one of those people that really cares more about others than herself.
Well,
Like
yeah, yeah.
and she just had a little baby, not just, he's like probably two by now, maybe one. And we share the same name for our sons, Colton and Colton.
Okay.
So she's got good
Yeah,
taste in it.
he was still in the belly when she came on our show. So yeah,
Yeah, she's a good person. Sorry, I'm about to. She's a great person. I
she
like her a
is.
lot.
Yeah,
On the
she was
first one, I
she
put
was an
heels on
E4.
this, and I don't know why, because you can't see my heels. I'm taking them off. Get those shoes off. Okay, I'm
You don't know
comfortable
how many
now.
times I do these interviews in pajamas. So you're good.
In heels
No, no,
and
in pajamas.
stilettos.
I have little pajama pants on, but I got a nice shirt up top. So
Oh, they're like my shoes. You can't even see my damn shoes. Like I don't even know. That was really ridiculous.
yeah, she was an E4 in Ramadi with me, and that was my last deployment. And then she ended up becoming an officer and a PA, and yeah,
She's sharp.
she
She's
is.
a sharp lady. Like, I mean, yeah, I met her and I was just so impressed. And we talked. I mean, I want to talk to her more, but I'm hardly ever here in
Yeah,
Charleston. Like she lives here and is doesn't travel much because she has two young kids, and I'm barely here. I mean, I'm right now. We'll probably get into this later, but I mean, I'm on three national tours, and yeah, I'm lucky to like sleep in my own bed most nights.
yeah. No, I get it, and with everything now, post COVID opening up, so I'm sure things are starting to open up for all the entertainment business.
Oh yeah, it's been open. It's been open for, I mean, since last year. We've
Okay.
been full out, like
Yeah.
sprinting.
I know. So my daughter got married right after COVID, and when they finally started opening it up to where you can have weddings and everything, there was like a 8-month waiting period for
Yeah.
planners. It was
So
crazy.
go to Vegas. All of us will marry you. It's
Yeah,
fun.
absolutely. So let's get into so how did you go from the military to the comedy business?
Because I was broken, I was struggling. I mean, it was bad. Like, so I retired in 2020 during COVID,
Okay.
and there had been some stuff that had happened in the latter part of my career, just a lot of sexism, a lot of judgments. I was really disenthralled, like not a fan of the leadership that I was working for, minus Press Ferris, who was my final boss. He was good to me, but there was just some real toxic leadership, and I was
Yep.
just done because here it was a double, there was a lot of double standards. I got a letter of reprimand for something I said while battalion commander. And the stuff that I heard come out of the male battalion commander's mouths was so much worse than
Yeah.
whatever came out of my mouth ever. And mine was never ill-intentioned. It was just funny. I was trying to joke. And I felt like, oh, you're supposed to be a lady. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I walk past formations of my counterparts that are getting top blocks, rated number 1 battalion commander, and they're saying the P word, and
Yep.
all this other stuff. And I thought, this is bull crap.
Yep.
And my two of my last 3 bosses, not Colonel Ferris, because Colonel Ferris is my last boss. I just want to make sure I say that because he was a good dude. But the other 2 before him just had no sense of humor. Like they were just like, "Mm." And
Yeah.
they didn't really, I didn't feel, I just knew that my time was up and that I was done. But it was hard because I felt like it was a divorce. I felt like it was an amicable divorce,
Hmm.
but still a divorce because I had joined when I was 17.
Yeah.
This was my entire life. I invested so much. I left my children to go to Iraq to deploy.
Yeah.
I gave so much of my life to it. And it's not that I felt entitled or that I didn't feel like I deserved to be promoted or anything like that. I didn't really care, to be honest. Um, but it just felt like a stab in the back,
Yeah.
almost like Uncle Sam had had an affair with somebody else kind of thing. But we had just kind of both decided we weren't in love with each other anymore, so it didn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go my way. But because it was COVID and I didn't have anyone to talk to, I had no really in-person transition. It was all by email. It was all by email and phone. There was no award. There was no thank you for your service. It was terrible. I mean, Colonel Ferris sent me a nice note and everything, but the award ended up getting handed to me like months later and it wasn't any fault of the leadership. It was COVID. We
Yeah.
couldn't go into the office. And so I wasn't too upset about that. I felt like I was just in this downward spiral and I didn't prepare for it mentally.
Yeah.
So I found myself in this like kind of just funk. And one day I see this comedy boot camp class. And I think, oh, I'm going to take this comedy boot camp class. I've always loved comedy. I once had tried comedy, actually had done comedy before, just messing around. And I'm a big consumer of comedy. So I take it and it changed my life. I mean, my mentality, the way I was viewing these things changed from disgruntled and angry to like, that's funny. Like, it's actually hilarious. And that healed me so much. It gave me so much peace. And I thought, if that can do that for me, it could do it for other people.
Yeah.
Why don't I share this? And yeah, so that's kind of why it started. And then it just more became so it started out just for my own mental health. Let me do this like you would go to yoga.
Yep.
Maybe you would go to like, shoot some targets or go hunting. It's relaxing and it helps
Yep.
you. That's what comedy was for me. But as it turned out, I started winning competitions. I was voted best Charleston comic, and I thought, am I actually funny? I was just doing this shit for fun. Like I wasn't trying to win anything. It actually surprised the hell out of me. I did not see that coming. There's so many talented people out there, and I thought, I'm not the funniest, but I think right time, right place kind of
Yep.
thing.
Okay. Yeah. And
All right, that was a lot. Did I overshare? Did I
no,
overshare?
no. We got all the
We can
time in the
cut
world
out the
too.
part about the people I mentioned because somebody might figure that out.
So, I listen to the Joe Rogan show. That's,
Oh yeah. Who
I
doesn't?
love it. I love it.
Who
And
doesn't?
I tend to kind of handpick more of his like military and Navy SEAL guests and UFO guests and stuff. But occasionally when there's nothing new, I do listen to when he brings another comic on and so
Yeah,
forth. And man, I've learned so much, you know, and even
sure.
he has talked about how women in comedy today are just they're taking over. I mean, they are funny. And it's always been, he talks about in the past about how women trying to break through struggled into the comedy business. And I thought it was, you know, kind of funny when he said that because I got to thinking, you know, all the interviews that I've done in the past. And, you know, our company commander right there before I retired, the guy that used to do the show with me, he chaptered him. He recommended to the battalion commander, and they put him out while he was serving in command overseas, and it was exactly for what you were talking about. He made a lot of sexist comments, and you know, I
Mhm.
have no issues of telling everybody, you know, he was just toxic. You know, there was
Yeah,
a E7 female, I can't remember her name. You know, not that you know I shouldn't, but she was a great leader, and the numbers was getting cut for the last deployment, and she wanted to deploy. She wanted to go with her troops,
hmm
and um, they were trying to figure out how to cut the people. And that commander literally looked at Doug and said, "I think what we should do is just cut all the females and see where that leaves us." And
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I'm like, what a, you know, and Doug don't put up for that stuff either, man. He all he seen was green when he was a leader. He didn't care
That's
male,
great.
female,
That's so great.
and it affected his career too. You know, they when all that came down, they immediately pulled both of them out of command, and they made Doug go to ops and as an S3 sergeant major, and you know they gave old boy the boot. You know,
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. I mean, come on. I'm not as tough as every guy, but I mean, after having two kids, I say I'm pretty damn tough. Like
yeah,
I'm less of a one. I'll tell you, I say like my husband's a tough guy, like whatever. He was Army too, but like we go to Disney and he whines about a 2 hour line. Oh, and I'm like, really? Really? 2 hours? Like we've been married. I'm like, he's like, oh, we're gonna wait 2 hours for a 5 minute ride. I'm like, oh, seriously? Like we've been married for 20 years and all I ever get are 5 minute rides. I mean, he's such suck it
yeah.
up, Buttercup. It's part of the process.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the ego just shrivels up.
Yeah, it does. It does. But yeah, I love comedy. So once I figured out that it was healing, then it was a lot of I got a little distracted in performing myself and healing myself. But then I thought, whoa, 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 I need to focus on other people and healing them. So I created Hilarious, which is a therapeutic humor program. And we do that to help veterans. And it's not like teaching them to be comedians, because Armed Services Arts Partnership does a far better job of doing that than we do.
Yeah.
They give people the skills to become stand-up comics. We do something a little bit different in the sense that we help them cognitively restructure their thoughts.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a story. So this guy, I did a group, it was visually impaired veterans. So the blind veterans group in the VA here locally in Charleston. And Mr. Melvin was one of the participants. And he was really not that happy to be there. His wife made him come. He's like, I don't know about this humor therapy group. My wife said I had to come. I don't need this. I don't need therapy. And I was like, well, this isn't really therapy. This is fun. Like, think of it as like a break from your wife. I said, Mr. Melvin, what is the most challenging thing you face as a blind veteran? He's like, well, my wife doesn't realize that I have been blind for 6 years. And she still asks me if I've seen her damn keys. And I was like, that is so funny. I was like, oh my God. And then he said, yeah, but I don't see how that's funny. I was like, and I'm trying not to like laugh out of control, right? And I go, okay, okay. He goes, well, I don't see how that's funny. I said, well, okay, is there anything else that she does to frustrate you? He goes, yeah. Just on the way here, she's trying to make a left turn. She's like, babe, is there any traffic coming from the right? I haven't seen in 6 years. And he says, I still don't know what's funny about all this. And he's all huffy and puffy. I said, okay, Mr. Melvin, let me help you. I said, this is what we do in this class. I said, the joke is, hi, my name is Melvin. I've been blind for 6 years. My wife asked me the other day, have you seen my keys? No, babe, I haven't seen your keys. Today, she asked me, do you see any traffic coming from the right? No, babe. Do I look fat in this dress? Yes. Now, I think that's funny. Maybe not
Me
everybody does.
too.
He laughed so hard, and afterwards, his wife, who was sitting in the back, was like, he hasn't laughed like that since like for 6 years. So that made me feel good.
Yeah.
And for like a moment, they forget about their pain, their
Yeah.
struggle. And then the next time something happens that triggers them, aggravates them, upsets them, he's going to remember that joke.
Yeah.
You can't really take that away. The next time she asks him if he sees, I guarantee you he's going to be more optimistic about it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's
I
funny.
agree. I absolutely agree. And I do see it. I see how comedy and everything can bring healing. Especially when you take it away. I mean, it's one thing for us just to sit around PT formation and tell jokes, but when you're actually up there on the stage, there's more of a format to it. There's a thought process, an order, timing, and all that stuff goes in. And I'm a big fan of anything that takes instructions. Like for example, and I ain't talking bad about any organization. So if they do this, that's on them. But there's a lot of organizations out there that takes veterans hunting, right? And you can take two organizations that do it. And the ones I think that take them out there and they say, okay, this is what you're looking for. This is how you do it. When you go to shoot, this is where you want to do. Let's work on breathing. And they get all this instructions to it, and it makes the veterans think. And I think that is way better than ones that say, hey, we got the deer stand set up for you. Go sit over there for 6 hours and wait for a deer. And then they
Right.
spend 6 hours thinking. So anything, just like what you're saying, anything where you're saying, hey, this is how you turn that negative into a positive, and let's turn it into a joke. And then they start, like you said, they start thinking about the structure of things. And yeah, I'm agree. I agree. I think that's great stuff.
To your point, the reason this works so well with veterans in particular and first responders, it's in our culture. Like, how many times did you talk crap in the motor pool? Like,
Yep.
we banter, we talk shit to each other. We're it is just in our DNA.
Yep.
So I feel like it resonates more than corporate America, more than any other
Yeah.
profession. I mean, can you imagine in corporate America if somebody's having a bad day, you'd be like, bro, just take a knee. Take a knee. Take a knee. I mean, we and people get offended. You can't do that. You'll be in HR. You'd be like, Bill went back to HR again. Like that, you can't. Like in the military, we can take it. I mean, I
Yeah.
that and that's why comedy and humor. So and I worked part sometimes in the inpatient mental health ward. So this is it's pretty serious. I mean, most of these patients have either attempted suicide or have severe mental health
Yeah.
diagnosis or in pretty progressed, I guess, state. So they, but when I go in there, I can't go in there and be like, two priests and a rabbi walk in a bar. Like I can't go in there and tell a joke.
Right.
I honestly get the best response when I go, "Hey, what'd you serve in Marine Corps?" I'm like, "Oh, excuse me. Does anybody have some crayons? He needs a snack." You know.
Yeah.
And if someone will say, "Oh, I'm the Air Force," I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did we not have a massage chair available? Can somebody bring some Grey Poupon and some caviar? We need some champagne right here for the Air Force." I mean, and it's just the banter and
Yeah.
the service rivalry that goes over better than my Disney joke about my husband complaining about a
Yeah.
2 hour wait for a 5 minute ride.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see that. So, a lot of Facebook pages out there, they always, have that good morning, how's everybody doing? And that one little post. I got a little thing I started, and it's called Conversation Before PT. And it's always those off the wall questions, when everybody's in their little huddle. Today was who was your childhood crush and stuff like that. And I expected some some stupid stuff, and I got it, But and that my thoughts is
Where'd you
exactly the
get that
same.
rush?
Yeah. My
River
thoughts was
Street.
it kind of resonates back to, everybody can remember those times, waiting for formation
Yeah.
and just talking about what they did that weekend. And somebody's always going to be the next safety brief. So,
Yeah. Safety briefs. We do a safety brief for everything. We do a safety brief for the safety brief for the safety brief.
yep. Yeah. So, how does the program work as far as do they have you guys come in and you perform and work with people? Is that how it is, or is this more of a people volunteer to come and there's a place that they go to? How does the whole operation hilarious work?
Yeah. So right now, I mean, we're pretty beginning. We have a once a week session we do online, virtually, but it's only for like the Ralph Johnson VA Center. We
Okay.
do a once a month session for the or I'm sorry, for the Youngstown Cleveland, Ohio Center. And then we do a once a month that's open to anyone. So like our next one is May 20th, Saturday morning, 10 to 10:45. So 45 minutes, it's free for veterans. You just go on Eventbrite, sign up, or you can go to hilarious.org and get the link and sign up. So yeah, that's what we do. And we customize things. So let's say an American Legion reaches out to us and they're like, "Oh, we want you to come do something." We can do a comedy show fundraiser.
Mhm.
We can do a mental health like session. We can do both. We can do like the mental health session during the day and the comedy show at night. I mean, we really tailor it to whatever their needs are or what they want. I
Okay.
feel like it's 50-50 right now. Like 50% of the time, we're doing workshops where we're training people to write jokes with
Mhm.
their trauma and their problems, not problems, triggers, I would say. And then the other 50% is we do comedy shows and we partner with Best Medicine Brigade, which is a group of comedians. Dwayne White is one of those.
Yeah.
We have a group of comedians that we put out there, and we book them for stuff. And then it allows organizations that are usually they're veteran support organizations, but not always, and they bring us in, we do a show, they sell tickets, we keep a split, they keep a split, so they make money, we get to pay for our travel and
Yeah.
overhead costs, and it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're talking about Dwayne. Dwayne is, like you said, he's hilarious. I didn't realize that he was part of that. I see. That's where I seen you actually was in a something he shared about Best Medicine Brigade.
Yeah, I've known Dwayne. He was my instructor. We're like brother and sister. I mean, we fight like brother and sister sometimes, but I love him, and he's very funny. He's very talented. He's just so witty. Like he can just off the cuff.
Yeah.
Just he's really good at improv and just responding and but yeah, he's good. He's one of the judges. So we have a tour right now called Operation Hilarious. And a lot of people think like the tour is about the contestants and whatever, but it's actually a lot of, you know how like American Idol, it's a lot about the judges. Like
Yeah.
you've got the three judges, it's the same with this. So we've got Dwayne Red Squirrel, who has like 400,000 followers. She's a feature comedian for Southern Mama Tour. She's a headliner for the Glitter and Grit Tour. And we have PT Bratton, who's a nationally touring headliner as well. So we've got these three powerhouse judges. PT and Dwayne are veterans. Red is a Marine Corps Army spouse. Her husband was Marine, then Army. And so we've got this great blend of talent, and it's really entertaining. So we've got a lot of shows coming up. So people can go to bestmedicinebrigade.com for the dates. But we got Arlington, Virginia, Tacoma, Washington, San Antonio, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Killeen, Texas, Newport News, Charleston, South Carolina, and San Diego.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
one more to TBD because we're working on that contract.
Okay.
And the finale is November 5th in Hollywood at American Legion Post 43, which I don't know
Wow.
if you know that they have this beautiful theater. I think it's called the Bob Hope Theater. It's a beautiful theater, but that'll be on November 5th.
That's awesome. I,
Yeah.
when Dwayne was on the show, he told me that they're coming to he's coming to Des Moines in June. Well,
Yeah,
that's where I was born at.
he's everywhere. I mean, he's really done well to tour all over the country.
Yeah, I bought tickets. I'm gonna go see him.
You should. You
Yeah,
should. He's super funny.
yeah.
One day we're gonna see him on Netflix and we're gonna be like, I knew him when.
I don't know. I kind of get that vibe. I think he really enjoys, working with the veterans and being around veterans. At least that's the vibe I got when he was on the show. So I don't know. I don't know if you'd want that. What do you think? Do you think he would go that route?
Hell yes. What? Yeah. Any comedian worth 2 ounces would want that.
Yeah.
I will say, I would say he would want it more than I want it. I honestly, he's got so much energy. Like when we're together, I'm like, I'm tired. Like we get done with the show, and he's like, let's go, let's have some drinks or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm out, deuces. I mean, he's got a lot of energy. He definitely, I think, would do well to do a national tour and
Yeah.
do a special. Yeah, for sure.
That would
Yeah.
that would be awesome. Yeah, I'd be happy for him. He can still donate some time to us little veteran guys.
You know what? You gotta stay humble. Don't get too big for your britches. If he gets too big for his britches, I'll cut him myself. You tell him that. You better not get too
Absolutely.
big for his britches.
Absolutely.
I'm pouring a little
So
bit of.
earlier you said you got two you said is it two national tours that you're working on now?
Yeah, I'm hosting the Southern Mama Tour with Darren Knight, Red Squirrel, Gary Cargill. It's by Bank Productions TV. I was very blessed that John Cosma from Bank Productions TV and his wife Mimi um, found me here in Charleston. And when I first won Best Comedian in Charleston, they found me, gave me a chance, and believed in me. And I really am grateful that they added me to that tour because they're the producers for the Southern Mama and Friends tour. Darren Knight is the fastest growing comedian in the country. The tour that I'm on, we're selling out 1,000+ seat venues. This isn't small clubs. This
Yeah.
is theaters. And I'm very excited and I'm really grateful to Darren for allowing me to join the team because him, Red, and Gary were touring for a long time before me. I'm like the new girl, and they have welcomed me like family. Like I cannot tell you how sweet and kind they've been. So that's meant a lot to me because you don't see that in this industry.
Yeah.
I mean, this industry is cutthroat. Most people are fake and like wish you like they're just all about themselves. They only care about their stage time and their how much they get out of things. They don't really care about you, and that's not the case with Southern Mama Tour. Like we're a family. DJ Dank Williams is on that, and DJ Slim McGraw. So yeah, but so that's one we're going to. Oh gosh, if you look up Southern Mama Tour, we're so many places. Our next stop is Rome, Georgia.
Okay. I know where
Next,
that's at.
yeah, not this Saturday, but the following Friday. The following Friday, we're in Rome, Georgia. We've got shows in Knoxville, um, where else? Dothan, Huntsville, Norfolk, Houston, New Orleans, Shreveport, Dallas. We've got a whole run. And then the other tours, the Glitter and Grit tour, also produced by Bang Productions TV with Red Squirrel, Ashley Gutermuth, who just won Air Force Spouse of the Year, and I. This is what I think now. Someone may prove you wrong. I think this is going to be the first national tour of all military spouses.
Oh wow.
So that Red Squirrel, the headliner, is a Marine Corps and Army spouse. Ashley's an Air Force spouse. I'm an Army spouse plus veteran, but we're all military spouses. And
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome because
that is.
we're also in Abrams. We're at Zany's in Nashville, Huntsville Stand Up Live. We're in Opelika, Alabama. So it's not like it's just it means a lot to me that the industry is seeing that we have something to offer too, and it feels
Yeah.
good. So
I,
I'm
I,
excited to tell our stories. Like our stories need to be heard, damn it.
I agree. I agree.
But here's the problem, Donald. Here's the problem. When you're a veteran or military spouse comedian, people think all your material is going to be about that. I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they're like, yeah, but we don't really want it to all be about veteran stuff. And I'm like, that's like 10% of my material.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still a mom, I'm still a human being. I'm still talking about regular stuff.
Yep.
I only throw in the military jokes if it's appropriate and the audience is a good match.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'm doing universal jokes, things that anybody can laugh at. So I feel like sometimes people stereotype us as, oh, we're going to talk about our war stories the whole time. No, no, we're
Yep.
not.
And I think so. I've had several veteran comedians on here, and that's something I asked early in the time when I first had a few veterans on. I thought the same thing. I thought, because when you ask where they're performing, they're like, oh, I've been to the VFW over here and a few veteran organizations. I'm like, oh, okay. So is most of your content about veterans and how do you relate that to civilians? And he's like, no. He said if I'm in like a veteran area. He said I might increase a little bit. He said, but most of my content is things that go crazy at the house. He said, everyday normal living stuff. And I was like, that makes sense. You don't want to have to explain your joke after you say it because they don't understand an acronym or something else. So yeah, it makes sense.
Comedian realizes that. Like, if you're doing a VFW or a Legion, sure, like you can go a little heavy on the military stuff. But 99% of the time, you're not in VFWs and
Yeah,
Legions. If you're really out there hustling, you're in clubs, you're in theaters, you're with normal America. And guess what? Only 1% serve. I
yeah,
mean, and so a lot of times I'll do a feel. So this is somebody says, well, how do you apply like what you learned in the military to comedy? Well, you read the room and you have to be quick.
yeah,
You gotta pivot. So if I go out on the stage, I'm like, and I'll say, all right, where are my veterans at? Thank you for your service, Army, Navy. I do a little roll call, right?
yeah,
And if there's not a lot of response, then I know it's, and I do that for the rest of the comedian. I'm usually first to come behind me. Then if they're paying attention, they know, oh, there's no military, or oh, there's a lot, or there's a lot of Air Force, not a lot of Navy, or there's a lot of Army, but not, well, there's always a lot of Army, but it's, you know what I'm saying? And so I
yeah,
try to like feel it out. And then in my head, sometimes I have to completely rework my set. Like I might have a joke that I was going to do, but because there's nobody in the audience, I have to go, oh, that one's gone. I'm going to replace it with this one. And it's like a Frigo,
yeah,
on our
yeah.
uppers. You have to be ready to like go a different direction. I think the military prepared me for that because you can think quickly and adapt to your situation. Because I don't want to do my joke about why I bought a Peloton. I bought a Peloton because I wanted to know what it felt like to be in the Air Force. And if nobody was in the military in that crowd, they're not going to understand it because my punchline to that joke is, oh, I'm not saying everybody in the Air Force has a Peloton. I'm just saying that by owning one, I'm now also part of a community that thinks it's better than everybody else. Thank you. You get it. But like civilians wouldn't
Yeah,
get that. They'd be like,
yeah,
what are you talking about? Like Air Force thinks they're better than everyone else. What? Like,
yeah.
huh?
Absolutely. Well, and maybe they're not number one anymore. I haven't really been able to talk to the Space Force yet, but I wonder if they're
Yeah.
kind of up here yet. You know?
They have lightsabers, so I think they they are. And they haven't issued them masks yet, so they just are using CPAP machines until they get issued them. But
Yeah. So, civilians, like you just said, man, this place where I work, and I don't talk about names or anything of where I work, but where I work is it's not heavily veteran, you know, and
mhm.
so I will say things not even thinking about it, and I'm a supervisor down there, and one of the guys texted me and said, "Hey, where you at?" And I said, "The chow hall," and I didn't know it, but he looked at the guy next to him. He said, "Where the fuck is that?" And he looked at it, he goes, "Oh, he's at the lunchroom," you know. And plus, I act different, I talk different, I have different expectations, and sometimes I forget that, you know, the way I led in the military is just not going to make it here. And some of the people are like, "Man, what a dick," but it's just the way I am. I'm just
Like you
straightforward. And
need Janet to like beat her face.
yeah, yeah. I've had a few, but so they moved me into a cubicle, and you're not going to believe this, but I'm just not a cubicle kind of guy.
You don't say.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and they got me doing SOPs and stuff like that. So I'm typing and typing and all of a sudden I start hearing the guy in the next cubicle and he's like talking to him, talking. And I'm like, okay, there must be somebody over there. And next thing I know, he starts telling himself jokes, but they're chemistry jokes. And I'm like, who the hell? I mean, this goes on for like a half hour. I keep typing what he's saying. And I finally get up. I'm like, is he on the phone? Who's he talking to? So I walk past him, like, to not make sure he sees me, but I kind of look to see he's talking to himself. And
Yes.
I looked at my boss and she's like, so what do you think the office area that you're in? Is everything okay? I said, I'm going to kill him. I said,
Like The Office, there's like a movie about this. We need your GPS reports.
so they bought me earbuds so that I could put them in.
Oh, that's awesome. You should be like this. Like they don't want you to have any homicide on the job.
Yeah.
They're trying
I
to
mean,
avoid
I joke
that.
with,
Trying to keep, yeah, nobody's gonna get a bonus if you do that.
yeah, oh
So
yeah, yeah. I joke with him, now, but man, at first that was like, I don't know if I can take this, you know?
no, I, that's why I run my own business. I can't work for anybody else.
Yeah, that's what I thought too when I got out, I couldn't find a job and decided to drive trucks and then I took off from there and I did it for 6 years and then my mom's health kind of took a shit. So I was driving back and forth between Georgia and Iowa. So that's where my wife and kids, they're still in Georgia. And I was driving
What?
back and forth and then COVID time frame, the freight just went to shit. And I just couldn't afford it anymore. My overhead, because I was still new, was was pretty high. And
Yeah.
when COVID hit and I was pulling flatbeds, so I had a lot of infrastructure. I mean, I'll tell you how bad it got. I literally have tarped toilet paper to deliver to Walmart on a flatbed just to have a load. So
Wow.
yeah. So I finally decided, and I started looking for a job, and that's when my old first sergeant said, "Hey, you looking for work?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking at it, because I was going to bring my mom to Georgia, and I got a real quick lesson in how healthcare works, and man, she
No.
was going to lose so many benefits by moving out there. So that's why I moved
You're
back here, and then at some point I'll be back in Georgia, but
you're a good son. Like I said, I moved down here for my mother-in-law. I took care of my dad before he passed up in Arlington, and that's actually what made me move down here is because when my dad passed, it happened so quickly. And when she got sick, I told my husband, I said, I'm moving down there right now because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna let that happen.
yeah, yeah, and
You don't
that's
get
I said the
days
same thing.
back. You
Yep.
don't get those days back. You have to live with that, and that's the right thing to do. But God bless you. You're a good person.
And
Not a lot
I
of people shove people in nursing homes or whatever, and it's a tough call though. I tell you, it's caregiving is no joke. It's
it is,
brutal.
it is, but I'm like you. I've seen, my mom's sister's in a nursing home, and it's the stories I'm hearing is just
It's not at it's anyway. That's a whole nother episode.
yeah. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. So what's the best way for people to find your guys' organization? Is it through Facebook or do you guys have a website or
I guess my battery's running low. I better talk fast. I thought I plugged it in. Hilarious.org or bestmedicinebrigade.com. And I'm Robin at bestmedicinebrigade.com.
awesome? And I will make sure I'll go through and find all your links and everything and get them
Yeah,
posted in
thank
here
you.
too.
And they should come out to the tour. Operation Hilarious. We're on tour all over the country. We're still have auditions open, so people want to audition.
Okay.
They can. We're still looking for America's funniest veterans and military spouses. Don't be scared. Dwayne, Red, and PT are the judges, but I mean, Dwayne's a little scary, but the rest of them are pretty nice.
Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
send you a name because I guess my TBI is kicking in. I can't remember his name, but there was a Marine veteran that was on the show, and he's in your home state. He's in there in South Carolina. So I'm gonna
Uh, uh, Robert Taylor.
No, his last name is Johnston.
Brandon
Johnston.
Johnson.
Brandon. That's it. That's it.
That's
Yep.
my boy. I love Brandon is one of my favorite, like Brandon, Stan Shelby, they're my two guys here in the area that I love. Like they're my peeps. Like
Yep.
if I was stuck on the side of the road or if I was having like issues, they would be my first calls.
Yeah.
Brandon's good people and he's funny.
He
We
is.
just follow us. I'm at Robin Phoenix Johnson on Instagram. You gotta we do this thing called Service Wars. And we do these things where it's like how veterans do whatever, and we show each branch of service. And Brandon does the Marine Corps one, Stan does the Navy, Ashley Gutermuth does the Air Force, I do Army, and Noah Miller does Coast Guard. We have hundreds of thousands of views. It's so funny. It's not because of me. They are hilarious.
Yeah.
And Brandon, I think, is the star of the show. I
Brandon
hate to
is
say
funny.
it's Ashley Gutermuth, who I love, and I'm her manager, and she's amazing. She's the headliner for our tour. But I think Brandon's kind of stealing the show. Like he's a little bit showing off. Yeah, but he's. I'm so glad he was on your podcast. He is awesome.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
he will help. He will give you the shirt off his back.
I share,
And he's the
even
type of guy that doesn't care about his stage time or like he's not about himself. I mean, he cares about other people, which is
yeah.
why I love him so much.
Yeah, he was actually the first comedian I've had on. So I got a lot of the behind the scenes stuff from him on the way it works. And he was talking about open mics, and he was talking about, being the host and headliners and all the different roles.
Yeah,
And they started talking about timing and all the behind the scenes work, the writing
yeah,
and practicing and everything else. And I was like, man, it is a full-time job. And we
it
haven't even
is.
got into promoting yourself yet, because like you
No,
said,
or the social media.
yeah,
Honestly, if you don't have a social media presence, I don't care how funny you are. If you don't have a ton of followers, you're not going to make it.
yeah,
Like, good luck. Not today. You have to have a following.
yeah,
You either have to have a following or a huge connection. And a lot of comedians don't want to hear that. And they're like, I'm funny, I'm funny. And there's also this old mentality how comedy used to be and how they think it goes and the process. That's not the process anymore.
yeah,
Comedy as an industry is changing. And I mean, look at Darren Knight and Southern Mom, my fastest growing comedian. It's social media.
yeah,
You build your following globally, and then you start doing tours and it's the old mindset needs to it's gone,
yeah,
but yet still people cling to it and they still feel like we're going to push this. If we continue to do that, comedy clubs are going to go bankrupt
yeah.
because
I'd agree.
it's about ticket conversion. You got to sell tickets to make money,
Yep,
and it's a business. This is what a lot of comedians forget. It is show business.
yep,
And they look at me and they're like, "Well, how'd you get on two tours and or three? I'm producing one too." Nah, it's show business. Period.
yep,
And also, look, yeah, it's very frustrating, and I'm frustrated. Even I'm a little bit drinking, so but I get frustrated, and then a lot of comedians feel like entitled, like
yep,
I should have this, I should get that, I need stage time, I need that. It's I. It's never we, it's never the team. It's
yep,
very annoying, because you and I know from the army it was team.
yep,
There's no I. But I love Brandon, I love Stan Shelby, I love Ashley Gutermuth because all of those three and Doug Bennett. No, like PT Bratton's another one. Team. Red Squirrel. Team.
yep,
The whole Southern Mom Tour. Team. We don't do stuff by ourselves. We're successful. We're stronger together.
yep. And,
So,
and that's what Brandon was telling me. It's the first guy goes out, it's his job to warm them up, not necessarily get all the laughs. And I think we lost. I think the battery went dead. That's all right. Hey, thank you for coming on, and I'll make sure she hears that from me. But yeah, you guys take care and have a good day.